Spurgeon here with RevZilla, and today we're going to give you the detailed breakdown of the GMax GM54S helmet available at RevZilla.com. If you're taking a look at this video, chances are you're looking for a modular helmet and you're looking for something that's going to come in at more of an entry-level price point. So what the GM54S is in GMax's lineup, it's their entry-level modular helmet. And what this gives you is it gives you full modular design, so you do get a nice modular helmet with this particular lid. But what you're going to get is you're going to get this to come in around the price point right around that $160 mark for the solids, and then right around that $170 mark if you're considering the graphic. So for those of you that are looking to get into the world of modular, you just don't want to spend a lot of money to get there, this is going to be a nice entry-level point for you. Now the shell construction is going to be thermoplastic. It's going to have two shell sizes available, and when we threw this on the scale, it comes in right around 4 pounds 6 ounces, so there's no hiding the fact that the 54S is definitely going to be one of the heavier modular helmets out there on the market. DOT rated as far as safety is concerned. Like I said, two shell sizes are available, and when you're taking a look at this, what the 54S is going to give you that bumping up to something like the GM64 won't is the overall shape of the internal part of this helmet. Now keep in mind, when you're choosing your helmet, really it's about finding the helmet that fits your head best right from the box. So with the 54S, it's going to have more of an intermediate oval head shape to it. A little bit longer front to back, a little bit narrower on the side, and it's going to work for the majority of you riders out there in the American market. For those of you that find that you have a rounder head shape, it might be worth bumping up the extra few dollars to get into something like the GM64. The GM64 helmet from GMax definitely has a round head shape to it, and what that means, it's going to be narrower front to back and a little bit more room on the side of the head. So those are your two main distinctions when you're considering whether or not it's worth the bump from the 54S up to something like the GM64, which is the newest modular helmet in GMax's lineup. As far as what we're looking at with the overall design of the 54S, there's a lot of key features here that are going to set it apart from something like the GM64 once we get past the internal head shape with this. And the first thing you're going to see is the vent scheme on this helmet. So you're going to have 8 intake vents, 8 exhaust vents, and you're going to see that come play through. You have the chin vent up in the front, and then you're going to have dual vents on either side of this, and they're all going to be active vents, which means you can open and close them. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then when you get to the top on this, you're going to have 2 vents on either side, and there's going to be active as well, so you can open and close those vents to give you a massive amount of air in the front. Now before we move along to the vents on the back, most of you out there are thinking, well, hey, I'm getting a modular helmet because I have the biggest vent of all. I can open this up and I can use this as a 3/4 helmet. Just keep in mind, that's not how a 3/4, or that's not how a modular helmet is designed to use. A modular helmet is so you can open that up when you're at the stop. You can go in, you can get a drink, you can get a smoke, you can give your old lady a kiss if you want to. But when you get back on the bike and you start riding around, this is really designed to be closed and more in the full face position. Otherwise, you have this large, almost sail-like feature catching all of that wind when you're out there on the motorcycle. So just make sure you close that up. And one of the things that GMax has done is they've given you that massive amount of venting in the front to really make sure you are getting the airflow that you require. Now as we pull around to the back on this, you'll see that vent scheme is continued along the back, and the vents for the exhaust on this, the majority of them will be active as well, and you can see those actuated through the switches on the top 4 vents as well as the middle 2 vents, and then at the very bottom those vents are going to be passive for you, just allowing that airflow to push all the way through. One of the things that GMax does is they do a very nice job with their venting, even on these more entry-level price point helmets. So if you're taking a look at the actuation with these, this is probably my only small nitpick with the vent scheme, is that the ones on the back anyway tend to just kind of not have the right touch to it. They're not quite as secure as I'd like them. But when you're considering the fact that this is an entry-level helmet, it's a very minor nitpick as far as the overall construction is concerned. So with the face shield, for those of you out there that like to ride with a face shield up, maybe a pair of sunglasses on, one of the things to note here is for the quick release of the face shield, this isn't something you're going to be able to do with the helmet on your head. So a lot of you out there like to swap face shields out, you know, maybe put a tinted shield on for the day, go back to the clear one. You're going to have to take the helmet off of your head to be able to do this, and it's not a complicated process, it just requires 2 hands. So what you're going to see first and foremost, there's a little tab here, and what you have to do is with one hand you're going to push that tab in, and with the other hand, I have to use my thumbs, big old thumbs, you're going to pull that lever down. Once that lever is pulled down, the face shield pops right off. You pop it back into place, you slide that lever up, and it's locked back in there. So again, it's not a complicated process. It's just something you're not going to want to do with the helmet on your head because it's just going to be a little bit weird for you to try and get around there. Closing that up, one of the things that you're going to note with the 54S that you're not going to see with the 64. If you're looking over on the side, this is going to be extremely easy for you to mount a comm system on, and that's because for actuating the internal sun visor with this, GMax left this as a top-loading system. So you reach up, and there's a switch at the top of your head. You can lower that internal sun visor, and there's a little bit of adjustment that comes into play when it gets down, so it has a really far reach to it, and then you can kind of pull it up a little bit if it's sitting too tight on your nose. And the fact that they have this on the top of the helmet just allows you to use that comm system a little bit easier on the side of the helmet. And the other thing you'll note on the very back of this helmet, there is going to be an integrated light system with this. So you have 3 positions right out of the box. You can turn it on for a solid, you can hit it again and it turns to a light blink, and then if you hit it a 3rd time, it actually goes to a strobe feature. And that just allows you to be riding at night, you get a little bit of that extra safety feature to it. And for those of you that want to incorporate this with your actual brake lights, GMax does sell an optional brake light kit that you can install, so when you actuate the brakes on your motorcycle, it'll give you an extra brake light up on the top of your helmet as well. So let's break down the inside, and by doing this, we're going to get a really clear look at how that vent scheme works with all those vents that we were talking about. So to do this, I'm just going to go ahead and open that modular system to get me a better reach for the inside of this. And pulling the cheek pads out first, there will be a CoolMax liner to this, but the cheek pads are going to be much less sophisticated than what we're going to see with the 64. The cheek pads in the 64 have much more of a contour to them. These are a much more basic cheek pad, more of a straight cut to it. You still have that CoolMax liner to help wick some of the sweat away, and you are still going to have cutaways for the speakers. So if you want to put speakers in for a comm system, the cutaways for this actually are going to be in the cheek pads themselves. There's not going to be cutaways in the EPS liner. Pulling the cheek pads out, we'll get those out of the way. Let's get the liner out. And one of the things you'll note, and GMax is really good about this, is they don't include snaps at your forehead to mount the liner. The snaps actually go up into the brow mount for this, so you don't have to worry about any kind of pressure put on your forehead. So even though it's just a very simple, basic liner, they did think out the process of comfort when designing this system. Now as we open this up, you're going to see that they do give you a nice channeled cutouts in the EPS liner to help that airflow push through, and you can see the massive cutaways in the EPS liner for all those vents that are in the outer shell to help push airflow through to make sure you're nice and cool in those warmer summer months. The final note with this, and this is something that we've seen with the GM64, it's something we're seeing with the GM54S in front of me, is they've given you metal fittings for the closure of the modular system. And it's not just the metal fittings on the posts, but the actual fittings where the posts catch into are going to be metal as well. And what this does is it just gives you a nice secure fit, as opposed to some of the manufacturers we see which are using plastic fittings, which have the tendency to wear out and break over time. So GMax gets a nice thumbs up for going the extra mile with their modulars and just including those metal posts in there, so you don't have to worry about those wearing out over time. So there's a lot of you out there that have been riding around with full face helmets your whole life, and you're thinking about getting into a modular helmet, and the GM54S is going to be a nice entry-level helmet to get you into the world of modular. If you want to hear more about what riders that are already using this helmet have to say, click the info button on your desktop or mobile device, which will allow you to read other rider reviews from folks that are already out there using GMax helmets on their motorcycles. If you have more questions for one of our geeks, give them a call at 877-792-9455 or shoot us over an email at cs@revzilla.com. Thank you for joining us for this look at the GMax GM54S helmet. I'm Spurge. Enjoy the ride.